Materion Gymraeg a wedyn
The chair of the Welsh Legislative Affairs Committee, and then Kevin Brennan.
Thank you very much for calling me today, and I do want to say a little about the work of the committee. We as a committee are responsible for scrutinising policies affected by the budget. Since I started in 2010, the Welsh Affairs Committee has taken a great interest in the position on the Severn Bridge, and we've heard strong evidence that the impact of the tolls is very detrimental to the economy of South Wales, and we as a committee have proved that the scale of the tolls is far greater than the cost of maintenance, and we called on the government to reduce those tolls. Therefore, I was delighted with the decision taken post-budget to actually abolish those tolls entirely, and I paid tribute to the Secretary of State for Wales for his part in that decision. And I hope he will accept that the Welsh Affairs Select Committee did have some impact on that decision too. Now, this decision will have a particularly positive impact on the whole economy of the area, but it would be far better if the Welsh Labour government could start work on the M4 relief road. On the issue of transport, clearly the Secretary of State has highlighted the rail policy. Now, the committee has just concluded its evidence gathering on the decision to electrify the line between London and Cardiff. We've heard that the mistakes and fundamental mistakes were made, and nobody's counted the number of bridges and tunnels. They had to change the kinds of trains and even the kind of electricity, and therefore costs have gone through the roof, and value for money figures are dreadful. I have to say, when I started the inquiry, I was asking myself why the government didn't electrify all the way to Swansea, but ultimately I was asking myself why the government had started the whole project in the first place. Clearly, agriculture is an important issue for most of us in Wales, and Brexit is close to the heart of each of us too, and therefore it was natural that the committee had decided to look at the impact of Brexit on farmers. Now, I'm entirely confident that the agricultural sector will grow in the long term, but in the short term, if we were to withdraw without some sort of trade deal, then it's possible that some agricultural sectors will face significant challenges. But there's a great deal of agreement on the way forward. The unions has called on the government to retain the same level of payments, and the government's agreed to that. The unions believe it's very important to have some sort of cross-UK payments framework, and everyone seems to be in agreement, although we do have to sort out how parliaments across the UK will have their say on that. But what's important, of course, is the situation in terms of the single market and access to the single market. Now, if we could achieve an agreement, we would have some sort of business as usual scenario. But if we were to withdraw and trade under WTO regulations, then clearly some sectors will face challenges, particularly the lamb sector in Wales. And if that were to be the case, then we would have to review the system of payments, in my view, and ensure that the funding is distributed in a fair way. Now, from my own perspective, and I don't want to go beyond the remit of this debate, but I'm entirely in favour of Brexit, and I look forward to taking back control of our borders, our money, and our legislation in this country. Mr. Chairman, may I thank you and the Secretary of State to allow us to use the Welsh language at the heart of Westminster today. It is characteristic of the part that the Conservative Party have played in the development of the Welsh language. If I could give a word of constructive criticism, in my view, we are spending too much money translating official documents to Welsh when no one's going to read them in Welsh or in English. And we spend a great deal of money in areas such as Monmouthshire teaching children who have no interest in the language. Now, simultaneously, many groups within our communities, adult groups who do want to learn the Welsh language and use the Welsh language. And in my view, a few words of Welsh on our streets is worth thousands of words in documents which are unlikely to be read. Perhaps we should review the way we spend money on the Welsh language. Mr. Chairman, may I thank you? May I thank current members and former members of the Welsh Affairs Select Committee? It appears to me that once someone actually joins the committee, they are signed up elsewhere. So I want to thank them and say that I look forward to working with them whilst I continue as chair.
Kevin Brennan a wedyn David.
Kevin Brennan and then David